Hey, this is Will from Armoury-Terrain, and I'm out in my workshop on a rainy St. Patrick's Day. That's right, 17th of March, and I'm sure you can hear the rain on the roof. And today I'm not going to build a leprechaun's hat or a pot full of gold or even a rainbow. I'm going to build another monster plant, because I can. I'm starting this one with a pot that had an artificial plant in it, and it's got cement in the bottom, which gives it a nice weight to start with. And you may or may not be able to see there's a little plastic nub in the bottom which has the stem of the plant that we ripped out. So into that I'm sticking a not a toothpick, a chopstick. Toothpick's a little small. So some hot glue. Stick that in, and then the top, which is textured, I'm also going to put some hot glue around the edge so hopefully it doesn't fall out again. And the plant that I'm intending to build today is called a bellwood, which means it's going to be a century plant. It's going to grow and it has bells on the end of it. So anyone that's sneaking past it and touches it will set off all the bells, and the adventurers or the larpers in their camp will know that somebody's out there and it's not just the wind. So hang on and watch how I build this. Okay. First step is to grab some puzzle pieces. You know, the ones that come with the sides of your phone that we always seem to get more and more of. You trim the knobs off and get, say, 3 of them and glue them to the chopstick to form the base of the plant. We're then going to heat them and bend them over and put bells and leaves on the end. So it's going to be a nice simple plant today, at least hopefully. Now to keep these, or to get these into shape, we're going to use a heat gun and a bit of wet rag to cool them down once they're heated, and then trim them off to size. So I'm going to glue these together and then show you the next step. After a little bit of thought, I decided that a plant this size should have at least 2 rows of leaves. So we added a second layer, and now we're going to bend them. How do you get a decent bend in foam? You use a heat gun. So as we know, these are nice and hot. So heat up the foam a bit, try not to burn it. Yeah, that's about enough. And then bend it into the shape that we want. And with a wet rag, we cool it out. And by cooling it in this shape, it stays in this shape more or less, instead of springing back. So I'm going to do that for the other 2, and then I'm going to look at what sort of texture I want to put on the plant. And as you can see, my heat gun got a bit close and melted the electrical tape there. So be careful with your heat guns. Okay, now that I've got it all bent, I've trimmed the leaves down to a point and glued my bells on. I've just used a little bit of wax thread, about 2 inches or so, and hot glued them on. And now I'm going to texture the tree. Normally I'd use something like a flexible window caulking for this, but on a day like today it's not going to dry at all. So I'm going to go back to my paper mache idea. So I'm going to paper mache it and then show you how it looks. Okay, so we're a couple of hours into the build, and my bell tree's been paper mached, and the first coat of paint has gone onto it. Now it's burnt umber, this first coat, and when it's fully dry, and yes, I'm using the hairdryer a lot today to force the paint to dry quicker, it'll have some burnt sienna dry brushed over the top of it. So it's starting to look a bit like a monster plant, and hopefully it'll look good on the shelf with all the others once I put all the leaves on it. The bellwood plants are now finished. On top of the burnt umber paint, we put some burnt sienna and dry brushed it, and then some foliage leaves. And I think they look pretty cool. I mean, they've still got the bells And this one's even got a sleepy face, so don't wake the bell tree. I can see in D&D or at LARP one of the semi-intelligent races planting these all the way around their stronghold, and adventurers setting them off. Or at LARP, some of these made maybe 3 times their size on stakes in the ground instead of in pots, with loose strings connecting between them. So the adventurer comes through and all the trees go off and the sentries are alerted. So anyway, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain on a very wet St. Patrick's Day here in Brisbane, saying stay in and make something.